So the Gas Policy Development Project 3 was implemented from November 2023 up to April 2026 to initially support the implementation of the Philippine Department of Energy's amended Philippine Downstream Natural Gas Regulation. That's DC number 2024-01-0007. And later on, the Philippine Natural Gas Industry Development Act. And also its implementing rules na sabi nga ni Secretary ay napakabilis na na-issue yung IRR, no? Just 1 month before, after the law was approved. Okay, so now the project was done through the project's 3 main components. So tatlo po yung components ng project. First of all is the regulation creation, which is about completing and finalizing a regulatory framework for the downstream natural gas industry, anchored on the outputs from the previous phases. So GPDP 3 na po ito. We had GPDP 1 and then GPDP 2. So there were previous works already. Specifically, GPDP led the drafting of 3 key regulatory instruments. And then, aside from regulation creation, another component is the research component, which generated evidence-based data, providing technical inputs to stakeholders across government and private sector to inform policy making and sectoral planning through 3 research studies. So there were 3 research studies. Later on, we will discuss what those are. And the third component of the project is capacity building. Okay? The aim of this is to strengthen the capacity of the partner agencies and various energy stakeholders as well, both current as well as future practitioners, through 22 capacity building activities. So let me just go through the key outputs. Okay. So under regulation creation, we have the first one. The first output is the Codes of Standard Practice, okay, or the COSP. Okay, so this includes, well, it's composed of 3 principal documents. First document is the LNG Storage and Regasification Terminal Code. The second document was the LNG Transmission and Distribution Code. And the third is a Third-Party Access Code, or TPA. Okay, so tatlo po yung documents na yan. So the LNG Storage and Regasification Terminal Code provides comprehensive requirements for site layout, facility spacing, and the design and layout of pipelines, storage tanks, and regasification systems. The LNG, the second code, the LNG Transmission and Distribution Code, sets out the standards for both conventional pipeline systems and virtual pipelines. Okay, and virtual pipelines, when you say virtual pipelines, that includes LNG transported via trucks, via lorries, and marine vessels for delivery to end users. Now the third is the Third-Party Access Code. It establishes the regulatory framework governing the access to LNG, which is available in storage and regasification terminal facilities. Okay? So the development of these codes was grounded in comprehensive research across multiple engineering disciplines, including marine and naval, coastal and port, civil, structural, geotechnical, mechanical, electrical, process safety, occupational health, and environmental engineering. So what is the policy impact of these 3 codes? No? So each document integrates globally recognized codes, international standards, and industry best practices. But these are localized into the Philippine context. And secondly, these codes are envisioned to be promulgated as the Philippine national standards on downstream natural gas products and facilities, establishing clear, practical, and internationally aligned standards to support the safe, robust, and sustainable development of the Philippine downstream natural gas industry. All right, so that was under the under the regulation creation. The second output were the agency-specific regulations, okay, or the ASRs. These ASRs build on the Codes of Standard Practice, or the COSP, and GPDP2's proposed regulatory process. By establishing an updated and comprehensive framework for LNG-related processes and regulatory requirements. The ASRs were drafted for the following government agencies as listed here. Okay, so you have the Department of Labor and Employment, Bureau of Working Conditions, the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, EMB, and the Department of Health, Bureau of Quarantine, Bureau of Fire Protection, Maritime Industry Authority, Philippine Coast Guard, Philippine Ports Authority, and the local government unit of Batangas City, mainly because most of these LNG facilities are in Batangas. All right, so what is the policy impact of this output? So it is envisioned to enhance the efficiency of permitting, inspection, and compliance procedures, and it serves as a practical guide. So the ASR operationalizes the mandates of participating agencies, okay? So we worked closely with all these agencies so that they are able to integrate these codes and standards into according to their mandates, okay? So these are envisioned to be adopted by the agencies as department circulars later on. So we're hoping for that, okay? So they provide clear and actionable guidance for regulators, industry stakeholders, and potential investors, thereby improving the understanding of LNG project development and the broader business cases for downstream natural gas in the Philippines. Okay? So that was the second output under regulation creation. The third output is the Integrated Inspection and Monitoring Manual. This is a comprehensive document which is intended for use by the IAHSSE-IMT. That means the Interagency Health, Safety, Security, and Environment Inspection and Monitoring Team, which is headed by the DOE and GMD. Okay? So it's made up of all those 8 agencies and LGU that I mentioned earlier. Okay, so ang policy impact of this is that it provides a unified inspection and monitoring checklist, okay, for assessing the operational and maintenance status of the PDNGI facilities and their components, including its transmission and distribution systems. Okay. The manual aims to support safe, efficient, and uninterrupted supply of LNG to end users. So in summary, for under the regulation creation, the overall policy impact is that all 3 regulatory outputs ensure a more cohesive and effective governing environment and would facilitate synchronicity among the agencies and manage cross-alignment among concerned agencies again, and observe best practices and global standards. Okay, so that was the first component. Okay, now the second component is the research component. Okay, all right. So there were 3 research studies under this. Okay, so the first one is mapping the natural gas demand in Batangas manufacturing special economic zones. Okay, so this study estimated the potential natural gas demand based on actual fuel consumption of manufacturing locators in the Batangas Special Economic Zones, or SEZs. Okay? And it also evaluates the economic viability of transitioning to natural gas, from what they're using actually now to natural gas. Okay, so the findings are here, very briefly. The annual fuel consumption estimate of the Batangas manufacturing SEZs is at 477.58 million standard cubic feet when converted to natural gas terms. That's about 17% of the Philippines' total industrial natural gas use in its peak year. So that was in 2016. So this is 2025 or 2024, 2025. Okay. And that's only for the Batangas manufacturing SEZs. Okay, manufacturers of, second finding was that manufacturers of fabricated metal, as well as rubber and plastic products, are the largest consumers and are projected to further increase demand by 2050. Largest consumers po ng fuel. Okay, who are being targeted. We are targeting, hoping that they would convert to natural gas. Okay. And the findings indicate consistently high energy demand in these zones, positioning themselves as viable markets for LNG conversion. Now, that was the first research output. The second research output is the techno-economic feasibility of the natural gas use in special economic zones. So in this study, we mapped the infrastructure of non-natural gas facilities. Is it non-natural gas facilities or non-power facilities among Batangas manufacturing SEZs? We also determined the logistics for delivering LNG to these zones and assess the feasibility of small-scale LNG-based power system in the SEZ itself. Okay, so the findings in GIST is that first, the logistical analysis recommends the use of virtual pipelines in transporting LNG. And secondly, the combined use of natural gas. Okay, so we made a financial modeling over a 20-year horizon, demonstrated that the combined use of natural gas for boilers, furnaces, and an embedded 1 megawatt power generation system achieves positive net present value and an internal rate of return that is also positive. So this is supported by high electricity demand within these SEZs. Okay, so that was the second output under research. The third output under research is environmental life cycle assessment of natural gas utilization in the Philippines. This study highlights LNG's comparative advantages over coal and underscores the importance of proper emissions management, providing evidence to support cleaner and more efficient practices across the LNG value chain. Okay? So ano po yung findings natin? Well, they're all here. Among the possible LNG supply chain configurations in the scope of the study, the option which minimizes the environmental impacts of LNG utilization involves one, intra-regional sourcing of LNG. Second is regasification at Batangas terminal and distribution of via conventional pipelines and use in a reciprocating engine for power production. So this is about the environmental impact naman. No? Kanina it was techno-economic. So medyo magkaiba yung, yung findings nila. But that's something where you have to find the balance. All right, so overall, the policy impact of these research studies, these promote LNG market development in the country and also provide policymakers and industry stakeholders with a strategic basis for informed decision-making and long-term energy planning in the downstream natural gas sector. All right, so that brings us to the third component, which is capacity building. Okay. So what's this all about? So first of all, with government agencies, GPDP 3 delivered capacity building activities for various energy stakeholders, including the government, private sector, and the academe. Now, we held 11 workshops. We conducted 11 workshops in support for the development of proposed regulations for the downstream natural gas sector. So these were done with our partner agencies. These workshops were structured to deepen participants' technical understanding on LNG and to support the practical application of knowledge in the performance of their respective agency functions. And then we also had 2 site visits, okay? Also with our partner government agencies. 2 site visits, mainly in LNG facilities in Batangas. These were meant to complement these workshops, the workshops that were held, by providing direct exposure to LNG facilities and operational environments. Okay? So these activities enabled participating agencies to test as well as to validate regulatory tools that we were able to develop in actual field conditions, and to assess the practicality of the inspection procedures and identify areas for improvement. So we wanted to improve the process of inspection and monitoring. Okay? So in collaboration with JERA and Asian Natural Gas and Energy Association, or ANGEA, the project organized a hybrid seminar. Okay? So aside from the 2 site visits, we also had 1 seminar. It's a hybrid seminar on global supply, demand, and pricing of LNG. Okay? So providing regulators with insights into the global LNG market developments and emerging strategies. Okay? Aside from these, we also had 3 seminars for the private sector. Okay? So knowledge sharing events for the private sector were conducted to support broader stakeholder engagement and learning. So these sessions created space for participants to keep abreast with global developments and operational practices. And I think this is the last one, with academe. We also had capacity building for academe, because these are the future industry players. Okay? So we had 2 lectures which promoted interest in LNG among college students. And aside from these, we were able to offer 3 elective courses in UP Diliman, okay, the College of Engineering, supporting the cultivation of future professionals in the field. So hopefully we have people who are ready to be employed into the natural gas industry of the Philippines. So in summary, okay. So we had 22 capacity building activities and 600 plus stakeholders from the government, private sector, and the academe. So ito po yung nag-attend, mga 600 plus. All right. Oh, wait. Okay, so I'm ending. So before I conclude my presentation, I'd like to thank, of course, our partners headed by the Department of Energy, particularly yung NGMD, headed by the OIMB Director Rino Abad. Totoo po yung sinabi ni Secretary na makulit po talaga, hindi niya kami pinapakawala. But thank you. We really appreciate that, sir. And of course, overseen by Yusek Sales, we also had meetings with him. Okay? And then, of course, we had other agencies, the Bureau of Fire Protection, the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, EMB, Department of Health, BOQ, and the Department of DILG, and the local government of Batangas City. Of course, the Department of Labor and Employment. And of course, Marina, Philippine Coast Guard, Philippine Ports Authority, and the Philippine Economic Zone Authority. Meron po bang nandito representing these agencies here? I hope so, because you were very important in this project. Thank you for coming. And of course, we appreciate, ERIA, the Economic Research Institute of ASEAN and East Asia, which funded this whole project. And the University of the Philippines Statistical Center Research Foundation Incorporated, which implemented the project. And of course, JERA, who provided our technical support to us. Okay? And I would like to thank the GPDP team. Nakita nyo naman po sila. Andito sila. Very, very efficient and very, very excellent team. Okay? That's the core team behind the project. And we hope that the GPDP3's outputs serve as a foundation for continued progress in the sector. The work undertaken through the project opens further opportunities for policy refinement, institutional strengthening, and expanded application of natural gas across sectors. I think that's, yes, and that's my last slide. Thank you very much, and good afternoon.